Good evening, good morning, and good night. Welcome to Inappropriate Radio. It's your host, Tashana, the hostess with the mostest. Let's get into this. So, hi guys, good morning. I was actually led, not instructed, led to not record last night. That actually never happened. I forgot to record one time. There have been instances where the segment did not upload. There have even been cases where I was out doing something and then I ran over time, meaning 12 o'clock midnight had come and the day had passed and I hadn't recorded for the day because I was doing something. Like, it was on my mind, but I didn't beat the clock, right? 12 o'clock had gotten here fast. Like, all of those things had happened and can be counted as reasons why. But since I've been recording, last night was the first time I was actually led not to record. Even with me wanting to have particular discussions, right? Me having topics in mind, we could easily just pull one of the elements from the periodic table. I had a few other things in mind that we could have easily discussed, but the creator, for whatever reason, did not want me to record last night. So I got up this morning about maybe 3 to use the restroom, and I was like, okay, God, why didn't I record? Like, why didn't you allow me to put a message out last night? And he said, silence. So I'm like, do you want me to stop recording? Like, am I supposed to be done with this podcast? Am I supposed to keep going? Like, what's going on? Why didn't I record? And he said, sometimes people will be looking for you to have something to say to confirm their BS against you, to confirm their own BS against themselves, or they just come to your page to confirm things that are not true. Or in this case, it would be the podcast, right? And I was like foggy, right? This is 3-something in the morning, so I had to make sure those were not my thoughts. So I laid back down. This morning, about 6, when I got up, it was confirmed. Like, okay, yeah, I don't want you talking on this day because I need you to be silent today. So I don't know what kind of attacks went out yesterday. Now that I'm here and I'm recording and I'm reflecting with the creator, I'm sitting in his midst, I'm seeking him, and I'm realizing that, okay, that has a lot to do with it. A lot of the times, people will use your own stuff against you. People will gather information about you. They will do research on you. They will study you. They will go around and do a history check. People will fully invest in learning ways to come at you, right? Without a full reason. I mean, of course, jealousy, envy. Sometimes people do things for money. Sometimes people do things to test their own strength. They know that you are strong and they are strong, and they will try to play God in your life. We talked about that, right? But when it comes to being silent, when you don't divulge information, people don't know how to gut you and cut you. People don't know where to come in. People don't know where to attack. People don't know how to attack. People don't know what to use, or they don't have anything to pull and draw from when you have not given them anything, right? And this can be applied to all areas of our lives. But I think the most important part of this was to simply have a good idea on how to dissect the things that you choose to divulge. Even if it's something that God wants you to put out there, you have to do a good job at deciphering what to stay silent on, what to give a little bit of information on, what to keep to yourself, how to actually word it, when to release it, right? All of these components come with not being silent, especially when you are for sure that you are under spiritual attack. It's one thing for people to say things against you, to not like you, to have an evil eye. But there's like this thin line, right? To not like a person, to, say bad things, to make up lies. Making up lies and being the master manipulator is like where you start to tread on thin waters, icy, murky waters, right? But when you start throwing shade, evil eye, deliberately throwing energy to a person, when you are deliberately, when you're setting up altars, bump the deliberate part, because when it's deliberate, you already passed the threshold, right? You're going to get the karma regardless. But when you start to deliberately and actively engage in attacking a person who, even if they did something to you, when you start to deliberately, when you set up altars, when you take pictures, when you're taking belongings, when you're doing spells, magic of any sort, and lying on a person is a part of witchcraft, just to let you know. You have a problem. You have ultimately walked through the threshold of opening the door to abusing your own bloodline, to having your own bloodline dismantled. You don't get to choose who dismantles it and how it is dismantled. You don't get to choose that. Once you start doing things to people that is not right, that is beyond fair, that has nothing to do with you advancing people, right? Because you can speak life over people that you don't like, and you can still bless them with prosperity and peace and protection. Like, you could send energy back. Like, I'll give you an example. Let's just say people are like, return to sender. You can return to sender with love and light, right? You don't have to return to sender 10 times full. The way people give things to you, or the way people treat you, or the way people speak things over your life, or the way people decide to deal with you, you don't have to do it back. Because two wrongs don't make a right, and you don't have to place yourself in the same energy as your attacker. Where are you going to be different? Where does the distinction come in? You don't have to do what people are doing, because you start to become like them. The energy that you start to create, the universe has to get a cash and balance from that. How do you borrow money from yourself? How do you allow loans to go out to the future generations, right? How do you allow them to take to deposit and withdraw if you are dispersing energy that is destructive? Who's going to use that? You understand what I'm saying? So you have to be able to understand that silence, not placing yourself in certain situations or environments, not divulging information. And of course, if you were instructed to do something, that's something totally different. But if the creator is stopping something from being said, stopping something from happening, stopping you from going a place, or even thinking a thing, you have to understand that that is in place for a reason. And when you decide to go around that or work against that, you are opening Pandora's box. You are placing yourself literally in the line of fire. And at that point, you allow yourself to be fired on. And again, you don't get to decide how that fire comes. Even if it is justified, depending on your ranking in the spirit, depending on, what actually is being, I would say, balanced out, what is being countered, right? Those are all different from you simply saying, okay, I'm going to give this to the Creator and allow the Creator to put me in a space where I don't have to do certain things or think certain things or be a certain way. You literally don't have what it takes to fight this war on your own. Your source of power, your source of strength is coming from the Creator. So you have to be willing to make room for the things that entail good, that are more than likely going to lead to good. Even if you fucked up before, you have to be willing to say, okay, I'm going to allow myself to invest in something greater. This has nothing to do with your desires. It has nothing to do with what it is that you think, right? Because a lot of the times when you're being spiritually attacked or when God is choosing you for something, you go against your own will all the time. And that is if you're obedient. If you are obedient, you are going against your own will. 95% of the time, you're doing things that the Creator, that God, that the ancestor, that the angels are leading you to do, that your spirit is leading you with and by. You don't really get to act out in your desires. And a lot of the times when you do, it's related to some kind of karma or explanation that needs to be balanced out that you haven't consciously come to terms with. We don't get to always have the understanding that we would like. Not when we want it anyway. A lot of the time the understanding comes when we are, again, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically mature enough to handle it. Because remember, your vessel is taking on this energy. So your body has to be mature enough to handle the warfare as well. Yeah, your spirit is older than your flesh. Earth is really young. Remember that. You only need your flesh for this realm. So you have to be willing to understand that this has absolutely nothing to do with you per se, but it has everything to do with the attainment of your spirit. Your flesh is easily destructed. Your spirit is the thing that is keeping you connected to all of these realms, including the Creator. So sometimes your plans are thwarted because it's for your own good. And we know that, right? But sometimes we have to be reminded. Sometimes we have to be put in certain situations to physically see what it is that we were being hidden from or being pulled out of. And yes, again, your own obedience is most of the time what is keeping you from falling into certain pits. Your obedience. So sometimes you just have to go with the flow, because going with the flow is a part of falling in line with the obedience. Falling in line with the plan. Not doing what it is that you desire can save a lot of people's life that are connected to you, not your own, right? We want to reduce the casualties of war here. Okay? But yeah, the silence sometimes, or your plans being thwarted, or your own understanding and perception is sometimes your saving grace. Don't trip. Alright? If it didn't work out, it didn't work out for a reason. Even if you think it's an attack, God allowed it for a reason. Alright? But I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I do love y'all. I hope y'all are drinking y'all water, eating y'all fruit and vegetables, and sipping on y'all own tea, because it's free. And I hope y'all are getting ready for this weekend. Love y'all. Peace.